We have the special talk 1 now, post the inaugural, and it is my indeed privilege to introduce to all of you one of our very distinguished speaker, Dr. R. Vaidyanathan sir, who is the Professor of Finance and Control at IIMR. Sir is a visiting chair professor of public policy at Shastri University. Third, his areas of interest are corporate finance, investment, portfolio management, risk management, and pensions. He is the founder chairperson for the Center for Capital Market and Risk Management, ICCMR at IIM Bangalore. He is a national fellow of ICSSR. He is the member of Technical Committee on Market Intelligence of SEBI, covering stock, bond, derivatives, and currency markets. He is a member of Venture Capital Investment Committee, VCIC, of SIDBI, and has been UTI Chair Professor in the areas of capital market at IIM Bangalore. We would request sir to please deliver his address. Please, sir.
Yeah. Anybody else going to talk, or I can start?
So you can please start.
Please go ahead, sir. We are waiting for your talk. Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay. Thank you very much, Indrani ji, for that brief introduction. And thank you, Monica, Ajay Kumar, and the chairman, Rohit Singh, so many people of the university. Only Indrani didn't mention one facet is I'm also an adjunct professor at Arrow University.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
You're honored. Yeah.
I'm part of the family, you can call it. Anyhow, so I am also thankful to the entire participants who could spare their time and then be available for this lecture. And we are talking about post-pandemic and possibilities or chances of having self-employment opportunities in this particular session. Time is an issue, so we will try to constrict it, and so that we can spend some time on question answer at the end of the session. First and foremost, I would like to say, if somebody says everything is going to become normal after a couple of months or a couple of years, do not believe them. Let me be very clear, nobody, underline nobody, N capital, O capital, nobody knows exactly what is in store for the future. This is something we should remember. The situation is not something easily predictable or anything. Even prior to COVID, there has been a crisis which has been recognized by many people. The G7 countries have significantly declined in terms of their global share of the GDP. In 1990, it used to be around 50%. In 2017 or 18, it is as low as 30%. And it is expected to come down to 25% prior to COVID crisis. Post-COVID, of course, all of us know that there is a huge amount of issues involved in that. The emerging markets, namely India, China, Brazil, and Indonesia, in 1990 had something like 30% of the global share of the economy, and in 2017, something of the order of 50%. So the global economic axis has shifted from west to east. That is something we should recognize. And different, centuries, different type of dominances were there. If you look back, actually, that the 15th century belonged to Portuguese, and 16th century belonged to Spain. 17th century, Dutch were dominant all over the world, and 18th century it was France. Britain was 19th century, US was 20th century, and 21st century it is estimated to be China and India. And China is having its own major issues because of this Wuhan crisis or Chinese virus. So there is a huge shift which has taken place in the entire global situation. The second is around 20th last century, if you look at, something like four events shook that century. The assassination of the Ferdinand in 1914, which created the First World War. Then we have the stock market crash of 1929, and 1933, the coming in of Adolf Hitler. And all of them made big changes. And in this century, it will be recorded in 2020, this Chinese virus has created and altered the entire landscape of the world, not just that of one particular country or another country. So let us not, what one can call, fool ourselves in thinking that a couple of months down the line everything will be, and some people talk about new normal. I do not understand. These are very funny terminologies. There are not going to be normal. We are not going to go back to pre-COVID situation at all. Let's be very clear, and that is what the world changes have indicated. There were three major forces which were operating before the advent of COVID. Globalization, everybody was talking about it in terms of financial market globalization, in terms of product market globalization, manufacturing globalization, not much labor. All other aspects, free movement was expected to be the core criteria. Now what has happened in the last couple of years, even before COVID, there is a tremendous amount of antagonism towards globalization. Many of the global institutions are in disrespect. United Nations is not highly respected. WHO has become a laughing stock in all these things, because every day they are changing their position about this COVID. And so globalization is over. Every individual country wants to protect its interest, and localization is now the what you may loosely call the flavor of the period. And that is why we are also talking in terms of Swadeshi and Atmanirbhar and various other things. So the second is, of course, the computer, or what you may loosely call the information technology, telecommunication, and that has come to stay. That is not going anywhere, and that is altering the way in which the world is functioning. And third is the convergence in a lot of activities. There are no clear-cut boundaries between, say, banking and the stock market and insurance and marketing, and any number of activities are getting combined. Actually, there are, it's an era of what you may loosely call a non-specialist. You are expected to, be a multitask-oriented, multiple type of a man. So in this world, what are the declining sectors? Let's be very clear. Travel is out. If anybody gives you something, no, all travel, it's not going to be. Travel is not going to be there. One of the major reason is the net-based, discussion and other. For instance, I am on the board of 2-3 companies, and most of the board meetings are now held on this, what you may loosely call Zoom or WebEx or something. And they are very happy. You know why? Because roughly of the order of 25 to 30 lakhs rupees they are saving per board meeting. Everybody has to go to Bombay, stay in hotels, and all that, all that is gone now. So that, they are telling that even after the so-called normal comes, we would continue to have our meetings only through using the web model. This is more convenient, and what is there is nothing big deal about not having a web model. So kindly note, it is not going to be tourism. People are going to watch on television what the tigers and elephants do and other things. It's not hotels, not much possibilities at all. Restaurant, many of the restaurants are closing down, and regular cinemas, wherever a huge number of people have assembled, the congregating situations are all on decline. And fashion, is not going to be much. If you are going to put a mask, it doesn't matter whether you have got lipstick or not. Every time you have to lift your mask and show that I have also got there, and or whether your eyebrows are Nobody knows actually. Inside the mask, what type of face and other thing is not. And mask is going to stay. Let me tell you. When I was in 2015 in South Korea, large number of people used to wear masks. In Japan also. I used to be puzzled. Why are they wearing masks? It appeared that time, you remember, some of you, SARS, there used to be another virus which was more prominent in those places. And those people have become used to that actually. So the fashion industry, if you have to come on the internet and then teach the student, my pants need not be of trim and because you are not going to see me in full length. Only the shirt has to be changed. And a large number of people, I am telling you, are very happy because they are all at home only. It's you can be in your own relaxed setting and situation. Outdoor sports is gone. Automobile were already in decline. German automobile manufacturers were complaining. US automobile manufacturers were complaining. Many companies have stopped buying automobile. They are only bringing up the hiring agent and then get the car in order to drop you at airport or bring you back. And then this Ola and the other one, King, that Uber. And then this electric-based automobiles are becoming common. So there is going to be a seesaw changes in the sector. Prior to COVID and post-COVID. Maybe the tractors, tillers and trucks and other those type of automobile will perish because of the picking up of the agriculture sector. Print media is dead. Take some till, take some oil in our Indian tradition, till and oil, and go to the nearest river and perform the tarpan for that. Print media is not going to come out at all. They are begging actually. They are telling, buy the print media and we will offer you, if you buy this, you will get that another thing. Nobody is, because once people are used to this television as well as this net-based, who is going to read? And then the reading habits have also died. People want to read only 128 words in Twitter, not more than that. If I give 2 pages, students used to complain in those days. Sir, 2 pages you are giving us, asking us to read. This is too much. Book and other thing, no way. They will take me to Human Rights Commission and other thing. Professor wants us to read books. And so the reading habit is down. Listening habit will increase. So most of the books have to be audio books. That is something which is, one of the girl asked me, sir, your investment course, why don't you put it in audio? I asked why, sir, because even while I am running or while I am jogging or while I am doing other thing, I can continue to listen to your lectures. It's not required for me to only. So visual is getting down, oral is getting down, and hearing is, and we are going back to our old tradition. Vedas, Upanishads were all heard only. They are called Srutis, and they were not written down or anything. So huge change has come about in those, and no need to shed tears. If I look at my grandma's kitchen, it was full of, metals, copper, pittal, brass, and various other type of metals. Now, if I look at my daughter's kitchen, it is only ceramics, glass, and hydrocarbon. Where have all the metals have gone? They have come to the drawing room. That's all. Some of those have become artifacts, the old style, so what happened to all those people who are making those metal things? They've all gone. Now some new fashion has come, copper based, but it will be of other alloys. Otherwise, the entire metal industry has been wiped out in the country, in the kitchen appliances. So there is no need to, nobody shed tears on that because nobody even realizes that industry has been wiped out. So many times in the past, so many industries have gone out of fashion. Now in this context, what is the future possibility? There are 2 areas which are going to be very major. One is what I call wellness industry. Everybody is now talking about wellness in a very broad thing. It's not just injecting yourself or taking more tablets or anything. It is wellness in a much larger sense, in terms of yoga, in terms of exercises, in terms of your body mass, weight, and so many aspects. People are beginning increasingly think about their wellness. So that is something which this COVID has created, and that has changed the entire. So health versus wealth. Health is now getting more and more important, and the wellness industry, we have a huge opportunity in India, because it's not just, as I told you, it's not just swallowing some tablets. It is much more to it, and we have our traditional way of wellness in terms of large amount of congruence with nature. So what can be done? Smaller hotels are not going to be occupied anything more. You can put 100 masks, you can put hundreds of disinfectant. Nobody who is going to come and stay in all your hotels. You can convert all those small hotels into wellness centers. I've been telling to a lot of my Patel friends, even in the west coast of US, you may be knowing huge amount of motels are there. They are called Patels actually. Started by these Patels from Gujarat actually. Quite a large number of them. Many of them can be converted into wellness centers, and India also we can do it. Wellness centers can be created. We have very good labor power in that. We have good amount of talent in terms of nursing, in terms of yoga training, teaching, and these wellness centers can also cater to people from abroad. What is happening is significant number of family decline in US and Europe. Most of the elderly people are taken care in the old age home, not in the houses. So that old age home can be created in India as a wellness center, and then at a much lower price, we will be able to offer them attractive services. This is one area I think youngsters should seriously think about. You require a smaller plot of land and maybe a yoga teacher, maybe an Ayurvedic doctor, and other facilities. It can be very near to some tourist places also. You can take those elderly people to those tourist or temple places and other thing and show them. So this is the future. This is where, and for the pension benefit, social security benefit, they get in Europe and US, they will get fantastic service in India. And I have identified, many people know about it, 500 or so mountain and sea resorts are available in India. And all of them are not properly exploited at all. So this area, domestic as well as foreign, is going to be the area of future. Wellness. Don't think about a traditional way of doing things and other. That's not. And wellness can be, you can have a 20-seater place, or you can have a 200-seater place. 20-seater place will be premium. You can charge much better. Take care of the people there, elderly people. Employ a lot of even part-time people who are studying in universities can come part-time and then look after some of the aspects of the conducting of the wellness centers. So wealth is not going to be the primary focus. Health is going to be the primary focus, because you are not going to spend a large amount of money. People are not going to throng all your malls and then buy those exotic clothes or anything. Because if you are going to work from home, 4 or 5 clothes are enough for you actually, changes. Why do you require something like 25 or 30? No, because why do we require fashion attire at all? In order to impress others when we go out. When you don't go out and be at home and do all these activities, you can be at your own, what we can call ease and leisure. So this is something which the youngsters should very seriously think of in terms of their own activity. Kindly know that a large number of healthcare workers in Middle East and US and Europe are all from India. You go to Middle East or you go to London and you go get admitted to an hospital, the Narsama who will come there is from either Kerala or Chhattisgarh, not from any other. So they are going to come there only. No, you are not going to get a white nurse or anything. That days are over. And many of them can be brought back to these wellness centers in India. And I am telling you, given the opportunity, some European or Americans will start these wellness centers in India, and then get people, and they will have a chain of wellness centers started in India, and if it is done by the white, we will get impressed normally because our DNA is closely linked with white. If white does something, it has to be good. So that is what may happen also. A good competition will come from global health service providers in India, bring people from abroad, provide them attractive type of these issues. The second area, which is also going to show a huge amount of change, is education. Believe me, sir, I was listening to this IT, Gandhinagar person. They have done remarkably well. But I am telling you, that is not the future. Sorry to tell to our university and other people, universities are all gone. Take my word for it. I am always expected to give some Nostradamus predictions. So it is like that. Universities are over. There are not going to be. What is the role of an university? University is an intermediary. Let us be very clear. What is their role? They assemble qualified people and then assemble students and then spread the knowledge. That's all. And that is not going to be that of the future. It is not required for having huge land, building and other things. You can have 4 good rooms, excellent computer facilities, servers, and you can have a university. Period. All over the world, people can join your university, and you can have excellent teachers. You don't have to have, teachers who are on your roll even. Very sorry. All the current teachers who are going to be on permanent role will all go away. They can, they can join any program and then conduct any. If somebody is good in a course, he can be in 15 universities doing the net-based teaching. This is what is going to be that of the future. The current model have huge land, huge amount. So if you are having real estate, you become a educationist today in India. If you are a big real estate baron, either you have an hospital or you have an education institute, and then some 10 stories or something, and bring all the students, and that model is gone and dead. Let's be very clear about it. It is going to be net-based, quality education over offers. There will be huge amount of demand. What is acid test? How much the recruiters are going to accept your offering, not the government certification and other things. All your UGC, all will go away. There is no need for it. I will tell my course is not recognized by any in Government of India or any state government. My course is offered, you take it. And the recruiters will decide how good is my quality. And again, in this net-based thing, what do you require? You don't require a huge amount of land or building or anything. You require highly qualified people who can communicate well on the internet. And then you recruit them. You can have them on part-time. There is no need for any associate professor, full professor, tenured professor. That and all that will go away. They can come to your place, offer the lectures, and if he is good in one subject, he can offer it among several other institutions also. This is one area, I think, at which self-employment is huge possibility there. So what is it? You have to identify, you have to network, you have to identify good teachers, and that will be the main strength. And again, here I am telling, already some US universities are offering courses. They are telling they will, and the very average universities are talking about, what one can call 25 lakh, 30 lakh. And again, when a white offers, for us it is a great thing. It doesn't matter whether it is a third-rate university or who cares, as long as the white certificate is there. So many people, thousands are registering. So we should not give this opportunity to outsiders. Now, IIT person was telling they are taking people from US and other things. Sooner or later, the US professors will realize, why should we do for IIT? We will do it on our own in the internet. So internet is an extraordinarily leveling institution. Other thing is huge amount of administrative load won't be there. You won't have massive paraphernalia in terms of vice chancellor, directors, deans, and all that will go away. There will only be a coordinator, and the quality teachers are only required, nothing more. Last but not least, in that is very interesting. I should tell it loud because some politician will hear, and then the entire reservation system will be damaged because of the net-based education. It's going to be extraordinarily difficult to implement that. So many percentage should be of this group, so many percent. All that is going to be passing, and not many are going to rely on your UGC gives certification like anything today. Sorry to tell. And there is something called, what is it called? Accreditation agency. They come and some of the very average ones are also given some very good ranking and all that. Who is going to, who has to decide? The employer has to decide. The recruiter has to decide. That is this side of the picture. So wellness industry and education, these are the two which are going to be a dominant, which will alter the way in which we live. Third is work from home. That is going to also become very popular. Already many companies are realizing 30% cost they have saved. And many employees are also realizing they are spending something like 1.5 to 2 hours in traveling within the city and all that. And many metropolitan areas people are leaving now. Because if you have to work from home, you don't have to be in the center of Bangalore or center of Ahmedabad. You can be in far away in Dang district of Gujarat, as long as you have got a excellent type of a communication facility. Once the internet facility is available to you, you can be anywhere. So many people are going adjacent to the metropolis. Metropolitan towns are passé. I'm telling you. New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Chicago, Bangalore, Bombay are all over their story. Because the work from home is the most attractive for many of the businesses. Obviously not for hardcore manufacturing, which require people's presence and other things. But there again, core only is required. All others can be working from home. So work from home will, sorry. Alter the way in which we are functioning. As I told you, if you work from home, you don't require 10 pairs of shoes. What do you require? So what is going to happen is, less is better. People are going to buy less and less. So the so-called consumption-driven world is coming to an end. This is something which we should recognize. Consumption or consumerism-driven world is coming to an end. It is going to be more in terms of wellness, work from home, and then IT-based education. These are the three things. And work from home require huge amount of, again, changes in our lifestyle, in our systems and other things. As I told you, most of the metropolitan towns are going to get closed. They are all ghost towns in another 10 years. I'm telling you, there is no need for people to live in center of the city, South Bombay, South Bangalore. When I still live in Mandya or faraway places, as long as you have got good connectivity. And what about other thing? Provision can be delivered to you by the internet-based deliverers. You can get whatever you want today in terms of ordering and then delivering. There is no need for you to too much worry about it. So there is a significant change which is going to come in the world. And many of the premier institutions are going to be deeply hurt if they don't jump into this. IIT, IIMs and other things. Because from abroad people will come. And today, running an IIT or IIM is so expensive because of the vast landscape. You know, in many of the IIMs and IITs, the total wage given to the Malis is as much as that of given to professors. You know, the number of Malis required is 75 to 100, and their pay is very high. You have to maintain it, otherwise it will become a forest. In the olden days, larger and larger land was captured. What is the size of your university? 50 acres. What is the size of your university? 100 acres. That is gone. That pride will not be there at all. There is no need. What is the size of your university will be told in terms of what is the size of my server. Not in terms of physical area. What is the number of rooms is not something bothered. What is the speed of your net? How many students you can cater? Kindly note, in net-based education, you can cater at a point of time to 500 students even. You don't have to worry about 60 student or 70 student or anything. So this is another, So huge amount of life-altering situations are emerging. If somebody goes on telling you new normal and everything will be as in the past, don't believe them. They just do not know what has happened, what has hit them actually. The Chinese virus has hit China itself first, and it has made China a bad person in the world actually. From that point of view, it is a major advantage to India. So we should not be going on telling about the old song. So that is something. Last is self-employment when. This is one issue many people are asking me. I find a large number of my own students belonging to 80s, 90s, they are slowly coming into self-employment. In the sense, they get into some organization, gain some experience, and around when they are 45 or something, what we call midlife crisis, both for men as well as for women. Women, it is also biological. Men also, nowadays, they say some amount of biological may be there. So they are all, they have earned reasonably well in their company. Suddenly they realize, what is the big deal in reporting to somebody? Why don't I be on my own? And many of them come on their own into software and other sectors. So one thing is, unless you have a business background, in the sense your father is in business, your uncle is in business, you would like to. That is most important. And there is you have to take risk. Risk taking is something which is, And I will, before I close, I will tell a very small incident which happened. This gentleman in the late 50s was working in Hindustan Lever as a salesman. And he was sent to London to get trained. In those days, Unilever, used to have a global, what one can call training method. They used to have a global standardization. As jokingly used to be told, in some of these MNCs in those days, the gap between your sincerity and where you have to sign is also fixed all over the world, whether it is in London or India or something. Also fixed. That is what it's called a standardized way of doing things. This boy went there and then he was a young person. He saw in some of the houses, this pressure cooker. He was highly, impressed. He thought, what is this, auntie? How does it work? And they told, it's simple. You switch it on and put rice or put olive, wait for one whistle or two whistles depending upon, and then close it and then open it after some time and over. He has never seen a pressure, because his mom used to use what is called the local pressure cooker. Local pressure cooker is you keep one vessel and you keep another vessel on top of it, and some of you might have seen it also. Most of you might not have, because you are all born much later, right? So that is the thing. Anyhow, so he wanted to have the pressure cooker in India. Kindly note, in UK, that time electric has not yet come. Electric cooker came a bit later in the 60s, and then came, of course, your microwave and all. He brought, somebody gifted him, he brought one pressure cooker also to India in order to make a pressure cooker in India. and he was stopped at customs. Believe me, in those days, pressure cooker was considered as a high luxury item, not allowed for import. You won't even believe. We had such times in India, and it was confiscated by the customs. He wanted the handle and the weight, at least, please give me. They told nothing doing. You go away. This is not allowed to be taken in. He didn't know what to do. Anyhow, he came out and then he prepared some background note and other thing. He wanted financing. He went to State Bank of India. In those days, State Bank of India, and other one was that Calcutta-based, IFC, Industry and Finance. They were only there. State Bank of India, they looked at all the things. They were impressed. They asked final question: what? How does it help? He told it will save huge amount of time to Indian women. They told Indian women have got a lot of time in hand. Why do you want to save it? And they all laughed. All men moved only. So it was rejected. Much later, the chairman told that's one of the major mistakes we made. Anyhow, he was rejected. He didn't know what to do. He pawned his wife's jewellery, which he has got as part of his thing, and then he went back to UK in those days, and then he went to the company which was making this pressure cooker and told, I would like to buy your plant. They told okay, because they are dismantling it now. That time electric has come and the whole traditional pressure cooker is going out of. They told him, you take it, 22,000 plus insurance and other thing. He came back and requested many people to donate, and he quit his job also. They thought he is mad fellow. Who will quit a job in Hindustan Unilever in the early 60s, late 50s? Because those jobs are fixed. You join Unilever and you retire from Unilever. In those days, not now. Now people don't work for more than 3 to 5 years in any company. In those days, people are known as Birla Bhattacharya or Tata Subramaniam and other things. Their name itself was. Anyhow, he quit the job. He got some donation. He set up a plant. He didn't have marketing facility to market pressure. He went around in Maharashtra and Gujarat, all the Mahila Mandals with one sample, and he used to show them how to use pressure cooker. That is, how to put cabbage into it or various things, and he used to donate one free to the secretary of the Mahila Mandal. And one important thing is, in India, he told me later, if you convince one woman on a good product, particularly household product, you get 3 customers free. Word of mouth, she will spread the message. She will tell others, oh, you are not using this, this is very useful and all that. And much later he also told, if one woman doesn't like your product, some problem in that, she will tell 7 women, you will lose 7 customers. So this is the difference. So that is, be careful. Every woman is a Ralph Nader in India, who is extraordinarily known in US as a product seller and also complainer. Anyhow, so like this he did, and around 72, and over a period of time the company grew and he was giving bonus to himself, on to himself. He got also one certificate from the Mysore Food and Adulteration, that institute, which told that cooking in pressure cooker won't affect your nutrition and other. And he knows eating habit and cooking habits are not easy to change. In 72, he came into the capital market, offered shares. 160 times it was oversubscribed. 160. This is much before Mukesh Ambani's and Dhirubhai's came into the market. Kindly remember this. A simple young boy's idea that there is a market for pressure cooker in India. He doesn't come from any business background. Actually, they are from West Pakistan. His father sold gunny bags. He is only a licensed engineer in those days. There is no B. It was called LC. But he took a great risk quitting his job. But he had a very obsessive and simple idea that this will have a market in India. Now today, nobody asks anywhere about the need for buying a pressure cooker. Actually, Delhi, one survey was done by, if I remember, a couple of years before, to newly married couple. The first item in their purchase item is pressure cooker, and mostly it would have been presented by the family or friends or something before marriage itself. Post marriage, first item is pressure cooker, then comes two-wheeler cycle, then comes hand torchlight. This is C and D towns, as in the marketing jargon they talk about. So you can see now there are, believe me sir, 16 brands in the country of pressure cooker, not just one brand. The point I want to tell is a remarkable way in which the entire middle class in this country is functioning was done due to the single person's intuitive feeling about a product and a market. And after pressure cooker, all other things came. Your washing machine, your refrigerator, your microwave, your then mixie. You know what you may loosely call kitchen revolution in India. It's incidentally it's a 90,000 crore market. It's not a small market. Like automobile in US, we got this kitchen revolution. So risk taking is required, and higher and higher you study, unfortunately, lesser and lesser your ability to take risk. Risk taking and education are inversely correlated. This is also you must remember, because higher and higher you study, you do analysis, then paralysis or whatever, and then finally you decide no need for going into this market. But people who are 8th standard or 9th standard, they jump into that. Some of them succeed, some of them don't. That's what is the, and many of them who succeed, whether it is Tirupur garment people, whether it is Surat diamond cutters, whether it is Morbi, cloth manufacturers, whether it is Sivagasi, this firecracker and matches, you will find very interesting. Most of them initially when they started, they are 10th fail or 11th pass. That's all. Not PhDs, and their children today are going to US and study. That is a different issue, but the initial entrepreneurship. So risk taking is something which you have to do. There is no other, second alternative or something to that. But it gives an enormous amount of satisfaction, because you are your own boss to start with, and you provide employment to people, huge number of people. So newer opportunities you have to look at, and what are the areas in which you can actually do the business. That is the self-employment, unless you come, as I told you, from a business family. And of course, the experience which you gain also will be phenomenally helpful. The service sector, normally what is called trade, wholesale and retail trade, transport, all type of transport, the human transport, goods transport, hotels, restaurant, real estate and all other individual services, plumbing, fitter, carpenter and so on. These were growing very fast in India prior to COVID. These are what I call the growth engines of our economy. They were all growing around 7.5-8% annual. They were the real growth engine. But unfortunately, some of them will be in decline. As I told you, automobile is not going to be in forefront. Restaurant is not going to be in forefront. Trade will be in forefront. Retail and wholesale trade. Maybe net-based also. That will be in the forefront. And all these plumbing, fitter, carpenter and other things will be in the forefront. Huge amount of activities. If you can mobilize something like 10 plumbers and 10 carpenters and other things, and offer them as services locally, that is going to be a game changer. So identify huge amount of gaps are there. What is required to be done by the individual. Put yourself in the shoe of a housewife, and typically, let me again repeat, you must convince an housewife about a product. Hundreds of ways in which you can think of, impressing the man and the child, nothing will happen. Unless she is very clear, purse won't be opened, or what you call the card will not be swiped. Housewife is the key to the market to enter for most of your products and other things, services into the new world economy. So any type of arguments people are going to give, everybody is going to fly in the plane again, don't believe. Nobody is going to. Plane companies are selling the planes. Boeing has cut its output. Nothing is, everything will become, nothing will become normal. Many of the restaurants are closing down. There is no way they can. People are not coming. That's what I told the finance ministry. You might pump in more and more money for small businesses. They give more money through banks. I'm sure you're reading it in the paper. But unless the customer comes, where is it going to help them? There should be some, in my town, Bangalore, restaurants which used to get normally 40, 50. And on weekend, they used to give token for people to wait outside. They are now getting hardly 2, 3. Couple of them told me it is 5% of last year's income. So it's a dying industry. Of course, work from home has also added to the other issues in terms of cooking also at home. But in the process, men will learn. I am very sure. It's not going to be dramatically different or anything. And so, cooking from home is going to be the norm. Or otherwise, you have some packaged things. That's all. So there are some, and let us not shed tears. As I told you, throughout history, many industries have gone. Many industries have died. Nothing. When I say universities are over, don't shed the tears immediately. What will I do? A new way of doing things have to come, and you have to adjust yourself for that. That transition we are undergoing now. So it will take another 10 years at least. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to dismantle that massive, what one can call not even elephant. It is more than that. Structure called Ministry of Human Resource Development. It is neither human nor resource. It is neither developing anything. But it is called the Ministry of Human. But now I am told they have changed the name to Education Ministry. I am very happy about it. And it is like calling, some transport service, they call it. Bombay or Bangalore. It's not, it has nothing to do with service. It is a transport in which, people are like sardines traveling. And that will also be east. That's good. So metropolitan towns will be ghost towns. Take my word, don't invest in a flat in South Bombay or Ahmedabad or anything. You are wasting your money as well as, unless you want to stay there. If you stay there, you might be alone also. There may not be people around because they will all be going to village. I can work from home in village. What is wrong? If I have got a good connectivity. So what is going to be most important is your server, your connectivity, your online agility, your ability to recruit people, that role. Universities are doing intermediation role. Let's be very clear about it. They are like banks. Get funds from some group and give funds to some other group. What does the university do? They collect all these people. Not required. Just the recruiter recognize my output. That's the acid test of the future. Except for those who are doing education for their own self-interest. Musicians or dancers, even now they are all sponsored by big companies and they go all around the world and earn millions of dollars. A good dancer or a good musician. But otherwise, ultimate test will be the recruiter. Whether my degree is recognized by a state government or by anybody is not of much interest to us. So remember, size of your institution is not in acres. It is the size of your server. Right? If you remember this, we are through. Wellness and net-based education, work from home. These are the future. Whether one likes it or not. And things are not going to be same as in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, always when we listen to you, it is such a wonderful talk that you give, and in your own lucid signature style, we don't even realize that in your anecdotal style, you have actually given us very rich inputs a lot of things to ponder upon, a lot of ways in which we can rediscover ourselves. So you
somebody is telling how long this online education will last. Once this pandemic over, everything will be as usual. I think
True.
he doesn't know what he is talking about.
So we will definitely redirect
Because,
this video to that.
These millions of rupees, why would anybody want to invest?
True.
And bring all these kids from various places and have every hostel hundreds of regulation and rules. We have warden should do all the girls have come back or not at 8 o'clock, 8:30, and some won't come back. And do the kids go out and drink? Of course, Gujarat claim that you don't have drinking problem, but everybody knows. So why all this? You be at home. It's a headache of your parents or wherever you are. But we will impart you education, both audio as well as video. So this gentleman, he says education, Subrat Kumar, educationpaper.com, all that, fine. Anyhow, you should think the whole, at least in South, I know, real estate barons have become educationists. And sometimes they give themselves PhDs in their own university without a sense of shame, honorary, and they call themselves doctors. And they declare themselves to be chancellors of their university. Can you beat this? Not one or two. I'm telling plenty of them. All of them have got a huge amount of, what you may loosely call black money is generated. And all. That's why there's a huge, antagonism to NEET. Because NEET is allocating based upon anything based upon entrance they don't like. They feel that we should assess the candidate, assess mean how much he can pay, that's all, nothing more. Extra funds. So this education being a real estate business has to go. And will go. I'm telling you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, the chat box and my message box is just getting loaded with all the praise about your session. And as I just mentioned that in your very lucid style, you help us understand very complicated things. But then the best thing is that you have ended the session on a very positive note, that if we rediscover ourselves, then the whole game is going to change.
100%.
Yes. So education is going to be different. We are going to have a different way of conducting it. But then the thing is that we are the only ones who can conduct it, I guess. So one of the questions, one of the comments which one of the people from audience had mentioned was that online education is a big pressure and stuff like that. I would just like to have 2 lines from your end. Sir, what do you suggest that the faculty of today, those who are conventionally teaching and slowly and gradually, transitioning to this online education, can you give 2 lines of advice as to how they can rediscover themselves?
See, I started my teaching in 1976. I think none of you would have been born that time. I'm very sure. Right? All would have been born in the 90s. With a chalk piece and what is called a blackboard. And also, not a good blackboard. Let me be very frank. We have to use this so-called duster, which will spread a huge amount of chalk on your eyes. Anyhow. And slowly we moved from there to transparency based. We used to have something called transparency. Some of you might have seen that. We have to write with felt pen on the transparency, and there used to be overhead projector. We have to keep that transparency projector and show it. And slowly from that, this and now we have got this so-called VCR, PowerPoint, and slowly over a period of time, we have also evolved. The teacher. For online teaching, cultivate communication abilities. 1, most important. Second is the bell system may not operate, unlike in the regular class where you have to leave. Here you may be, for instance, our own sessions are getting. So what should be done? The coordinator, you should close it That's all. You should suddenly your screen should become blank at the end of the time period. That's the most important is cultivate the habit of listening and talking. These are the two important things. Because PowerPoint you may make lots of them, but not many are going to appreciate it in terms of looking at it and other things. It will be helpful. Always you can circulate it among people and other things. So audio is extremely important, right? Shruti. That is what our Upanishad and Vedas stressed. In those days, kindly note, Shruti was the basis of education. Listening. Because there was no written material or anything. How did 5,000 year Vedas are even today chanted as per the original norm? Is by hearing. Everybody has heard about it and everybody passes on to the next generation. So this is a very major challenge. Your ability to communicate to a large number of, at least it looks like impersonal audience, but many of them you will come to know over a period of time and other. So this is something which you must be able to communicate your ideas orally, talking wise, and then you must be able to also listen very carefully, because some audience somewhere will have some genuine questions and other. It can be done. It's not a very complicated thing, and you will be able to over a period of time some CDs will be distributed of your discussion, some PowerPoint, some printed material also can be distributed. It's a big challenge, but kindly note, advantage is you can be a freelance teacher in 5-6 universities and parallelly earn. In of course in UP it appears, I read somewhere one lady in a school, she was registered in some 15 schools and getting salary from that. So it is not like that. I am not telling like that. Some Archana Shukla or something, some name came.
Yes.
Very chalu lady. I am not talking like that. I am talking in terms of you don't have to be affiliated to a particular place or anything.
Right.
So your skills will be recognized. Right? And ultimate arbitrator is in the university system is your recruiter. If he thinks you are doing a good job, your students are capable, he will take them. Don't worry about any other thing actually.
Thank you so much, sir. I really wish that we could all sit and listen to you forever, because it is such a pleasure for doing that. But as you have just now mentioned, that time is very, very critical, and we have the speakers also of the next session. I thank you so much for being a part of this conference.
And all the ladies here, kindly teach your hobbies about cooking, stroke, and Jadu Puja. Both train them well, actually. And over a period they will learn. Don't worry about it.
But I think we not only need to teach our husbands, we need to teach our sons also, so that they will not find it difficult. Their wives will not find it difficult.
Because your mother-in-law didn't teach their children.
Exactly.
Your children. You develop them in a different role. No, that's what I am telling. It is going to become. You cannot avoid it. See, work from home implies automatically a lot of work has to be done at home itself. Right? Home becomes a workplace come holidays.
Definitely, sir. And I think self-employment is one thing which is there in the DNA of women. So, your talk being on self-employment as a landmark opportunity, it opens up a lot of doors for both the genders and make them the mainstream in contributing to the employment of this post-COVID. So I thank you so much. And since we already have our next speakers, I thank all the participants. We had a good amount of participants.
Meghna, is there any other specific question I can answer?
Sir, no, not really. And actually our speakers for the next session have also joined in. So in case there will be any questions, sir, I will email them to you, and then we can continue to interact with them on a virtual mode.
Sure.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Meghna Di. Thank you,
sir.
Monica Suriji. Thanks the Vice Chancellor I think he is traveling toward the university.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Yes.
Rohit Singh. Thanks, Vipinji, who has come for the next session, I think, already.
Thank you so
Yes,
much,
sir,
sir.
we have the speakers. So on
Yeah.
behalf of the
Thank you.
entire,
Thank you so much, Vaidyanathan sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vipinji. Thank you, Tanu Narang, for waiting. Right?
Yeah.
And then thanks to the Dean and VC and the Director.
Can I say a quick hello to Vaidyanathan sir, please?
please, ma'am, please.
Please, ma'am.
Please.
Can somebody
it will be a
start
good transition
my video?
from ending this and beginning your session. Please
Oh.
go ahead, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Vaidyanathan sir, this is Professor Falguni from MICA. I closely follow you on Twitter and I am very connected with you. So a big hello and please accept my regards.
Oh, you are from this Micah.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
We are
okay.
connected on Twitter.
Okay. Thank you very much. My blessings to you. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So again, as you can see, sir, this virtual world has actually brought us closer. And
Yeah.
this is something that you had deliberated in your session. Thank you so much. Can we have one closing remark, a short closing remark from Dr. Monica?
I think, Meghna, we have already done so many deliberations and I don't want to hold the participants
Okay, ma'am, fine.
and team
Fine.
speakers. My only special thanks to Vaidyanathan sir, and he's always a guiding landmark to us as one of the adjunct professor at School of Business or a university. I think there's nothing bigger than this honor that we are having. Thank you, sir, for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
God
you so
bless
much,
all of
sir. We will be in touch. Thanks for being a part.
Yeah.